Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to today's Kendo rant. Let's jump straight into the questions. I've got only a few questions today, but one of them is a super long one, but I really want you to get to it, so let's get cracking. Hi Andy, I have a question. When packing away your men, do you fold back the buton as so they're parallel to the horizontal bars of the mengane? Reason I ask is I'm getting conflicting advice on this. One Japanese sensei said, don't tie them back as it causes them to look like upturned wings and therefore don't offer proper protection or missed men strikes. Others disagreed. Okay, right. So here's my men. I think that's in shot. Right, so what we're talking about, I guess, is obviously when you pack it away. Some people have a sort of tendency to put it like that. So yeah, the mendare are horizontal with the mengane here, and then some people even tie it up with the himo, like so it stays like that all the time. But actually I'd recommend against doing that. It depends on what kind of bogu you've got, but most decent bogu, certainly the stuff from KendoStar, doesn't actually need that because of the way that it's made and the stuff that we put inside it. Yeah, the guy that's told you that doing that could make it sort of lift up this way, I mean, yeah, you don't want it to sit like that on your head with these sort of facing forward like that. They should sort of face, I don't know if you can see, but they should sort of be a triangle down that way, like this. They shouldn't be up like this. They shouldn't be, can't see, like this. It shouldn't be look like this. So the knot, this is usually when the knot is tied too low. When you're wearing it, I'm talking now. And these sort of going off sideways, because this won't protect your shoulders either. Yeah, you should tie it so that the knot is about at the height of your head, and these come nice in a nice sort of diagonal line down this way, so that blows are easily glanced off. So what I tend to do is when I put the men away is I don't tie it up or anything like that. If anything, if I do tie it up, I just tie it as if it was on my head. So just tie it sort of here, not around the mendare at all. And then I would just literally, I would put the himo inside like that, and then I just put it in the bag with them sort of bent this way, but it's not, it's kind of only gently this way. Yeah, it's not like really forced like this. Yeah, it's kind of, I'm still trying to keep that shape at the back there. All right. So yeah, I don't think you need to worry about tying it too much. Obviously, if you've got like a kind of lower quality men that's got like just a straight stitching and a very stiff membuton, then it might naturally want to sit kind of straight on your shoulders, which is why people often tie it this way. And you might get a bit of benefit from that, but you just need to be careful that when you actually wear it, you aren't don't have them like flying forward like this or this way either, sort of square that way. They want to have that nice diagonal line, if you know what I mean. Next one. Would you ever consider doing a Kendo show episode on the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon waza keiko ho? Would I ever consider it? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that on board, and I think that would be quite a good video at some point. If I'm honest with you, the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon waza keiko ho, I mean, it's not super hard stuff. They're quite straightforward. They're a bit different to the Kendo kata. They're designed to teach you the basics. They're actually designed really to be able to teach somebody that's got no Kendo experience at all how to pick up the very basics of Kendo. It's not like they don't have a sort of philosophical element that in the same way that kata does, the Kendo kata does. So they're a much sort of simpler exercise, frankly. But yeah, I'm happy to go through them at some point. Okay, next one. Now, this is a real long question, all right? So I want you to bear with me because it's quite an important one. It is super long, but I've got this one and then just one more after it, okay? So do follow along because it's I think it raised some quite good points. I'll do my best to read it out without stumbling. Okay, I've got a couple of questions and comments. First comment is that when I got my first Shinai, it was bought through the club and I didn't get a choice in what type of Shinai I got. They just sold me a 38. When I asked why, they told me that's how it is. Now I'm managing orders. I make sure that everyone gets a 39, but some people still have it in their head, brackets, because of the older members, that women need to have a 38. Okay, so this is obviously about the last video that I did, or was it the one before, where I talked about the size of women's Shinai, and that I thought that women should really start using, adult women should use the women's 39 Shinai as standard rather than 38. Well, good on you for kind of changing over to 39s, and keep doing it. I mean, it's like I say, it's one of those old sort of myths really that women have to use a 38, that needs to just go away. Right, next, so to continue, and the question comes with a bit of a story. I lead a university Kendo club, and I have friends who also lead their university Kendo clubs. One of my friends and I were talking about the previous semester and what we were teaching. I'm new to leading, so I was looking for advice and making sure that I was doing things efficiently and correctly. We ended up realising that we both had a bit of a problem with people contradicting us, cutting us off, talking over, disregarding our advice and just not listening. Neither of us are sure how to overcome this. One of the things that I have sadly noticed, both me and my friend are female dojo leaders and high ranked within our dojos, is that when I get one of my male kohai to tell them the advice, they tend to listen, and that's how I've gotten around it. But I don't want to have to do this. That's really sad if that's true. That really sucks. It's only a small amount of people in the dojo who act like this, but their attitude affects the atmosphere of the dojo. And personally, it's disheartening. I just want an atmosphere of mutual respect in the dojo. For some of the people, I can slightly understand their resistance to listening to me, but it's not justification, as some of them have been doing Kendo for more than 4 years and are a bit older than me, and they may feel resentful that I'm giving them advice when I've only been doing Kendo for 1.5 years. But in that time, I poured my heart and soul into Kendo, as I wanted to do it for a long time before. Whereas the person who's been doing Kendo for 4 or more years has not been training a great deal. One quite shocking example was at the first Keiko at the beginning of the semester. There were lots of new people and we were quickly going over Kamae, Men, Kote and Do. And then I demonstrated Kirikaishi, a full set with correct breathing and full energy. And after that, we bowed out. Before we bowed out, in front of everyone, he criticised many aspects of my form so that all the beginners could hear. This is obviously very embarrassing for me and brought me quite a lot of shame. I do know that there are many aspects that I can improve on, and I do love to have advice. But what was worse was that he was saying was completely inaccurate for the type of kirikaishi that I was performing. He said that I need to slow the cuts down and stop for a fraction of a second between the cuts. Okay, I understand that where the advice was coming from. It's very good for making people focus on Hasuji and having defined cuts. And when I tried to politely explain to him that this was how many of my sensei have taught me how to do it, he said in front of all the beginners that it doesn't matter what they taught me because many senseis are lazy, which is why they teach it that way. At this point, I was... Sorry, that's such a stupid thing to say. Anyway, at this point, I was ready to tell him to leave because he had just disrespected my sensei, who I love and is fantastic, and some of which coach national teams. But I didn't want to waste time, so I just finished the session, and things haven't greatly improved over the semester. And my friend has also had similar experiences. We both have gotten to the point where where we do not give advice to those individuals and essentially just put up with anything else just so that the session doesn't go off track that much. So my question is, as a female dojo leader who hasn't been doing Kendo for a long time, how can I get everyone to listen to me and take me seriously? Or should I just get used to people acting like this? Thank you for all your help and advice. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not going to read all the stuff where you say the nice stuff about me. It's a bit embarrassing. Okay, so thanks for going into so much detail about that. Obviously, it's a really complex issue that's got a lot of aspects to it, and it's very hard for me to sort of accurately comment on it, not being there myself and seeing exactly what's going on. But let's just sort of chop through each of the sections of what you've written, and I'll see if I can give a little bit of insight that might be of some use. So obviously, you lead in a university club, so that's going to be a difficult point in the first place. I've got quite a lot of experience of practicing in university clubs. clubs. Never as a university student. I've always practiced there as someone that was older. But I do think there's a really interesting sort of culture in university clubs, certainly in the UK, which is where I believe you are, than there is in sort of more kind of other sort of adult dojos, if you know what I mean. I shouldn't say adult. I mean, I know you're an adult if you're practicing at university, but I mean, like a kind of a regular dojo. And yeah, I mean, because people are young and they're very athletic, they're very physically fit, and many of them improve at Kendo very quickly. And like anything else at that sort of age, and I was the same when I was that age, you're very, you're starting to develop a lot of ideas of your own, and you believe that those ideas are absolutely correct. And this happens a lot in university clubs. So that happens with Kendo. So you get a lot of these students that kind of, despite them not having much Kendo experience, they believe that they don't need to have it to understand what they're talking about. And often they're not quite getting it. But anyway, talking about how people are sort of contradicting you, talking over you. And the worst is saying that you're having to ask male kohai to talk to them on your behalf. I mean, that really sucks if that's really what's happening. I'm not suggesting that it's not what's happening. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I'm not there. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing is I've got this experience as well. Even now, sometimes I will teach Kendo, and I feel like that the response I'm getting from my students is not satisfactory, let's say. So I don't have people trying to contradict me or talk over me or stuff like that, but I can imagine it happening. To be honest, it doesn't happen to me because I don't think most people have got the sort of courage to stand up to me like that. But yeah, but that's just because I'm probably a little bit sharper in the dojo than most people expect. Actually, obviously on this channel, and how I am in normal life really is, I believe so. I'm quite the sort of happy, nice person. I think so anyway. But when I'm teaching Kendo, if I'm the authority figure in the dojo, then obviously I assume that role, and I expect to be respected, and I expect my instructions to be respected as well. And if that isn't happening, then I have the tendency to kind of come down on people that are not doing that. So with that in mind, like I say, people don't tend to stand up to me, but certainly not trying to contradict me or talk over me or something like that. And yeah, I mean, it wouldn't. This is difficult. I think the thing is with this particular point, and I take the same stance that I take, which is I tend to give people two chances in terms of the advice that I give them. I give them a piece of advice, and then I'll give it them, if I feel like they haven't listened to it or ignored it, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll give them that advice one more time, and at a later date. If they again ignore it or have disregarded it, whatever, then fine. I just leave them to it. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it's not my responsibility, even as their teacher, it's not my responsibility to make them better. It's not the teacher's responsibility to make the students better. The teacher is there to provide an environment that allows the students to become better, but the students have to take it upon themselves. So I'm not going to keep repeating myself to somebody that doesn't want to listen to me. If they don't want to listen to me, that's fine. If they think they know better, that's fine. They can go on and do it their way. I've told them what I think. If they don't want to take that on, then that's totally up to them. Like I say, I give them 2 chances to do that. And then if they're not listening to me, then fine. Then I just don't interact with them in that way. It doesn't mean I'm mean to them or ignore them or something like that. I'll still be nice to them. But yeah, they'll see a sharp drop off in the amount of advice that they get from me. In terms of the issue that you've got with somebody that's been in Kendo longer than you and criticizing your kirikaishi and stuff, it is difficult because obviously if they've been in Kendo longer than you, then obviously they expect they probably believe that they know more than you about it. I actually tend, in terms of giving advice, I don't know if you said you even tried to give this guy advice. It sounds like you didn't. I definitely wouldn't bother with that if he's showing that sort of attitude, and I wouldn't try and give him some sort of advice or anything. But in terms of your point on kirikaishi, I mean, this is where you have to kind of figure out now who is in charge of the club, all right? So if this person, he might have a bit more experience, but if you are the designated person that's in charge of your club and you're the designated instructor, and he's trying to obstruct that, he's trying to get in the way, then I think, you know, like exactly like you said, if this has happened exactly as you mentioned, that you've demonstrated something and then he's tried to berate you in front of everybody and pick apart what you're doing. And even worse, he started then saying, and of course I'm only going off what you said here, started saying that senseis teach kirikaishi. You know, he said that you should stop between each cut in kirikaishi. Now it's exactly, in my opinion, it's how you said. There's that correct and slow way, the slow, accurate way to do kirikaishi, and then there's also kirikaishi where you perform the sayumen as renzoku waza. That is not incorrect either, and I'm not quite sure how you can say that someone's a teacher is lazy for teaching that way. But to say that in any case, say, oh, many sensei are lazy and that's why they teach it that way, that's a dumb thing to say, to be honest. That isn't but I can imagine it. I've heard that sort of thing. I've heard that sort of thing a lot, especially in university club circles. Because again, like I say, you get youngsters who think they know better than sensei, and they don't. As this guy clearly doesn't. So yeah, a bit of a difficult one there. But if he's the if you're the designated leader of the practice, then you and he's doing that sort of stuff in front of everyone, then you need to take him to one side and say, look, I'm in charge here. We're doing what I say, and if you don't like it, don't criticize me in front of everybody. You can talk to me separately afterwards. If I agree with you, I'll take it on board, and if I don't, I won't. But you're not here to teach me. I'm here to run the practice, and if you do that again, you'll no longer be welcome at the club. It's probably the conversation I'd be having with somebody that was doing that. If I was in that position, that is. If I was in the position of being the club leader, which is what I expect that you are. But yeah, it's not cool him sort of trying to call you out in front of everybody, like trying to score points. Again, I'm only going off the information that I've got from your comment here, okay? So if whoever this person is, if they're watching this video as well, of course I'm only listening to this from one side of it, so I'm sure there's, you know, very, very potentially other stuff going on there as well, but you know, this is the comment I've got to work with, and that's my sort of answer to it. Like I said, other than that, how can you get everyone to listen to you and take you seriously? You speak with authority, you tell them straight, you don't sort of you know, pussyfoot around the subject. You say what you want to say. If something's right, you say it's right. If something's wrong, you say it's wrong. And if people don't want to listen to you, then that's their problem. At the end of the day, I just like I say, I tell them twice. If they don't listen after the second time, then that's the extent of the advice they get from me, to be honest. So yeah, I hope that helps. That was a really long one. But yeah, hopefully anyone else in that position's also found some sort of benefit out of that. Okay, last one. Obviously, I spent quite a lot of time on that question. It was quite a deep question, but I thought it was worth bringing up on here, just in case anyone else watching this is going through similar issues. It's really hard running a dojo or running a club, or even just teaching a club, because, you know, at the end of the day, especially in my experience in the West, is people are much more... you know, everyone's got their own opinion of how it should be, and we don't follow the same sort of hierarchy as they do in Japan in everyday society. So for people to suddenly have to do that in a kendo club can often be very difficult. Anyway, next question. Hi Andy, question for you. I was told years ago by someone with an appropriate sports science background that my legs are shorter in comparison to the length of my body than they would be for an average person. And if my legs were more typical length, I would actually be 3 inches taller overall. I don't know the absolute truth of this, but I have personal experience and anecdotal evidence that it's true, at least to some extent. If I were ordering a Bogu, should I put down this imaginary height in order to get a well-fitting door, rather than my real height, given that most order forms only ask for real height and not navel to throat example? For example, I've looked at a lot of kenshi in Japan over the last 5 weeks, and I haven't seen any adults that have as big a gap between the door and the men as I have when I wear standard issue door. What do particularly tall Japanese players do? Thanks. Okay, no, you shouldn't put your imaginary height. You should put your real height, definitely. You put the real height, then you send us an email or you get in touch with me and you say, look, this is the issue that I've got and how can we get around it? And then we at KendoStar help you out with it, because that's what we do. And there are ways around it. I do know a little bit more about this situation, because I think we've talked about it before in person. But there are ways around it, but unfortunately there's not a quick fix around it. To be honest, yeah, most Japanese people don't have a massive gap between the bottom of the ago and the top of the mune, but that's because most of them aren't exceptionally tall, and the Bogu is made generally with the average Japanese person in mind. Occasionally you do see people that are very tall in Japan, and they do have a large gap between the ago and the mune. And essentially what they do is there are standard larger sizes of the door, but I've never seen anyone in Japan with one that's got like a particularly long mune, because it looks kind of a bit unbalanced. What you can do is you can use a bigger door die, and as well as a bigger mune to kind of close that gap. That's certainly possible. So yeah, you put your real height though, and then you contact us, and we help you through it. That was a question from the Kendo Show Early Access group, by the way. There's a link in the description. If you're not in the group, get in the group. It's free to join, of course. It's a great place to post your questions, because there's members in there from all over the world, at all different levels of Kendo as well. So it generates a fantastic discussion. It's not just an answer from me. You get all sorts of answers in there. It's a really, really great place to post your questions and thoughts. So yeah, links in the description. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I know it was a bit unusual, and I know that I did spend quite a lot of time on that question there, but I did want to get through it. I hope it was interesting. Finally, don't forget to do your Kendo shopping at KendoStar.com. That's the website that I run. We got an amazing sale on at the minute. You've got Shinai, you've got the KendoStar All-Purpose Shinai, you've got the Junki Shinai, the Koren Shinai, and the Oval Grip Shinai as well. They're all on special offer right now. It's a great time to pick up some Bogu as well. We've got the Vanguard set. That's our most popular set ever. Easy to see why. Super protective, super comfortable, super durable. And the Shinobu set, which was the set I was messing with just before when I was talking about the men. Both of those come with a free Budo Wing backpack. It's a really awesome Bogu bag. And so it's a great time to pick one of those up if you're in the market for a new Bogu set. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.